All right, so you know why you're here,
Yeah.
right? You're tuning into the deep dive because you want to get to the bottom of things.
You want to cut through all that noise.
Exactly. You want the good stuff without having to do all the digging yourself.
Yeah, all the endless scrolling.
Endless scrolling.
And that's what we do here.
And that's what we're all about,
Yeah.
right? So today we're diving into the LA Lakers.
The Lakers.
You sent us this really interesting piece from Yardbarker.
Yep.
Originally from Athlon Sports.
That's right.
And it really it kind of takes a look at the team beyond the obvious.
Beyond just the headlines.
Yeah. Yeah. So think about it. The Lakers are sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, they're looking good.
46-29.
They are.
4th seed.
Yep.
In a tough Western Conference.
It's a battle out there.
That's a good spot to be in.
Absolutely.
And part of that is because of some pretty big changes.
Oh, yeah. Some major moves.
Biggest one, obviously.
A big one.
Luka Doncic coming to the Lakers.
Luka.
In exchange for Anthony Davis.
Wow.
That's a blockbuster trade right there.
That got everybody's attention.
Yeah, everyone's talking about that one.
For sure.
But what this article does is it really smartly kind of points out that, beyond that big move,
yeah,
there are some other things happening.
It's not just about the big names.
Yeah, that's right.
There are other pieces to this puzzle.
So it begs the question, who else is stepping up?
Yeah, who are those key contributors?
And what is LeBron James?
King James.
Think about all of this.
Right. What's his perspective on all these changes?
Exactly.
Right? Because his leadership is crucial.
It is.
In a situation like this.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's break this down.
Let's get into it.
This article, it puts a spotlight on Jackson Hayes.
Jackson Hayes.
Now, he's not the first guy you think of when you think of the Lakers.
No, not necessarily a household name.
Especially after a trade like the Doncic trade.
Right.
But he's being called an unsung hero, especially with Anthony Davis gone.
Why? Because AD was a huge part of that team.
He was a huge part of that team.
I mean, perennial all-star.
Yeah, dominant.
Both ends of the court.
Both ends of the court.
So losing that kind of scoring and defensive presence, it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
Now, the article mentions Hayes' current stats.
Yeah. What's he averaging?
7 points.
Okay.
4.7 rebounds.
All right.
50 games.
So decent number.
Decent numbers.
But not eye-popping.
Not eye-popping.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and this is what the article really gets at, and LeBron himself.
Okay.
Hayes' impact. It goes way beyond those basic stats.
So it's about more than just the numbers.
So much more.
I like it.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So the article, it highlights some comments that LeBron made on his podcast.
Which one is that?
Mind the Game with Steve Nash.
Oh, yeah, with Steve Nash.
And you can just tell from LeBron's words that he really appreciates what Hayes is doing.
He respects his game.
Especially, considering that they lost Anthony Davis.
Right, filling those shoes.
Huge shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
So LeBron, he starts out with this really strong praise for Hayes.
What does he say?
He says, first of all, I got to give a big shout out and credit to Jackson Hayes, man.
That's high praise coming from LeBron.
That's saying something.
For sure.
And then he talks about, Hayes stepping into that void after losing AD.
Right.
And he even says, that's a lot. That's a lot of scoring, a lot of defensive protection, a lot of rebounding, a lot of block shots.
He paints a clear picture of what's missing.
He does.
Yeah.
And what I think is really interesting is LeBron's, kind of awareness of the whole situation and the expectations.
Also, he's being realistic.
He's being realistic.
It's not about replacing AD exactly.
Exactly.
It's about finding a new balance.
Because you can't just ask one guy to come in and do everything that AD did.
You can't just plug and play like
and LeBron gets that. He actually says, but I think Jackson was like, I can't make up for that, and we didn't ask him to.
That's smart coaching right there, understanding your players' strengths.
That's huge.
And not setting them up for failure
Exactly.
by putting too much on their shoulders.
So they weren't expecting Hayes to become the next AD.
Right.
They needed him to be himself, to use his own strengths.
To contribute in his own way.
And that's what LeBron says Hayes has done.
He's stepping up.
He's stepping up.
I love it.
So specifically, LeBron talks about Hayes' high energy.
Energy is contagious.
It is.
Yeah.
And being a force on offense.
In what way?
LeBron talks about him running the floor, setting great screens.
Important for creating space.
Huge.
Yeah.
And being a lob threat.
A lob threat.
Now, what that means is...
Yeah. For those who don't follow basketball religiously.
Yeah, so he's a great target for those high passes near the basket.
Oh, I see.
And that sets them up for easy dunks.
Dunks are exciting.
They get the crowd going, and they put pressure on the defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, yeah, these are the kinds of things that don't always show up in the box score.
Yeah, they don't always get the statistical recognition.
But they have a massive impact on the game.
They can shift momentum.
They can shift momentum.
Yeah.
So for example,
Yeah.
Hayes' high energy leads to more fast break opportunities.
For guys like Doncic and James.
For guys like Doncic and James.
I think so.
And that's huge.
It's huge.
So it's not just about the hustle and the athleticism.
It's not just about the raw talent.
LeBron also talks about how Hayes has really improved his decision-making.
That's key.
Which is, for any young player that's trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, you got to make the right choices on the court.
That's huge.
Especially under pressure.
LeBron talks about how Hayes is able to catch it in the pocket, stay balanced, either dunk it home or find guys on the perimeter.
So he's making smart reads.
He's reading the defense.
Yeah, instead of forcing.
Which is huge. Yeah. So maybe earlier in his career, he might have just tried to force a shot.
Yeah.
But now he's thinking about the whole game.
Yeah, he's matured as a player.
He's seeing the whole court.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just to give you a little background on Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, fill us in.
The article reminds us he's a legitimate 7-foot center.
7 feet tall. That's a big guy.
That's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he was, a highly regarded prospect coming out of college.
Yeah, a lot of potential.
Drafted 8th overall in the 2019 NBA draft.
So a high lottery pick.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, teams saw something special in him.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
He was originally drafted by the Atlanta Hawks.
Right.
But then traded immediately to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Right.
Where he spent the first 4 seasons of his career.
So he's got some experience under his belt.
243 games.
That's not nothing.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
So now he's on the Lakers.
A team with championship aspirations.
Absolutely.
And he's rising to the occasion.
He seems to be.
Yeah, he's taking advantage of the opportunity.
And that's really what makes this whole unsung hero thing so interesting.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because the Lakers, let's be real.
They want to win it all.
They want a championship.
They haven't won since 2020.
They want that trophy.
Yeah.
And with Doncic there now.
Oh, yeah, the pressure is on.
The pressure is on.
For sure.
But here's the thing. Winning a championship, it's not just about having the best players.
It's about teamwork.
It's about the whole team.
It's about chemistry.
It's about those role players.
Yeah, the guys who do the dirty work.
Who step up.
When it matters most.
And that's what Jackson Hayes is doing.
He's embracing his role.
And the fact that LeBron James,
4-time MVP.
multiple championships.
You're a legend.
A legend.
Yeah.
The fact that he is specifically calling out Jackson Hayes for his contributions.
That says something.
That's huge.
It really does.
It means Hayes is making a real difference.
His impact is being felt.
And they're going to need him to keep doing that.
Especially in the playoffs.
If you want to win it all.
Absolutely.
So when we take a step back.
The bigger picture.
What's the lesson here for you listening?
What can we learn from this?
Even when you have these huge roster changes.
Yeah.
Superstar arrivals.
The big names.
A team's success. It often comes down to these unexpected contributions.
From players you might not expect.
From guys who aren't always in the spotlight.
Yeah, the unsung heroes.
And Jackson Hayes is a perfect example of that.
He's proving his worth.
It's really all about, team dynamics.
Yeah.
And players being willing to embrace their roles.
And excel in those roles.
Especially when those roles change.
Because things are always changing in the NBA.
They are.
Especially with trades and injuries and all that.
So Hayes isn't trying to be AD.
Right.
The Lakers aren't asking him to be AD.
They're letting him be himself.
They're letting him be himself.
Yeah.
And he's focusing on what he does well.
His energy, his athleticism, his decision-making.
And that's what's making a difference.
It's all about finding the right fit.
It is.
And maximizing your strengths.
It really makes you think about, how important these glue guys are.
The guys who hold it all together.
The guys who do the little things.
Yeah, the unsung heroes.
So as we look at, the rest of the league.
Yeah.
All these other teams.
With their own championship dreams.
Who are some of those other potential unsung heroes?
Yeah, who's going to step up when the lights are brightest?
Who's going to be that X factor?
Who's going to surprise us all?
That's what I want to know.
That's what I'm going to be watching for.
That's what makes this so exciting.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the big names.
It's about the whole team.
It's about the whole team.
And the unsung heroes.
I love it.
Me too.
That's why we watch.
That's the beauty of the game.
So keep your eyes peeled, folks.
You never know who's going to make the difference.
The next unsung hero could be right around the corner.
And that's why we love the NBA.
That's right.
So much excitement.
So much excitement.
Always something new.
All right, that's it for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll catch you next time.
Keep diving.
Keep diving.